Yeah, I know. Okay, so guys, the atoms, the main important atoms for living things, it's carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. These are the main elements. Yeah, these are the main elements for living things. Why? Because you will know that our cells, or live, not only our cells, all living cells consist of uh, compounds, made of compounds, the parts of the cells made of compounds. And these compounds, we called it organic compounds. What we called it? Organic compounds. Okay. What is the organic compounds? Organic compounds, that compounds mainly made of carbon. You would find that carbon is the main element, okay? The main element found in these compounds, okay? So we called it organic compounds or carbon compounds. It's not mean it's made of only carbon, no, but mainly carbon. It has much of carbon, you understand? Let's see here. We are studying in this chapter the chemistry of life, and the organic chemistry is the study of all compounds that contain bonds between carbon atoms, between carbon atoms. Okay, so uh, studying these compounds is important to understand how the cell works. Okay, so we need to understand the structure of these compounds. Is it clear till now for all? If not, raise hand. Okay, carbon atoms. Yes, Abdullah Malik. Open your mic and speak.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
Mr. So, can you explain the organic compound again?
Organic
Basically,
compound, this word organic compound means compounds made mainly of carbons, like carbon link with carbon, with carbon, with carbon, with and so on.
okay.
Okay? And these carbons link with another atoms like hydrogen, like oxygen. It can bind with oxygen, okay? Like this. So uh, this is the idea, that these compounds, mainly carbon, contains carbon, bonds to each other, okay? Why we study these compounds specifically, why these compounds we studied? Because these compounds, which are the main compounds to make the living cells. The cell membrane, your cell membrane, for example, made of these compounds. Of course, you know these compounds. It's the, by the way, the carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and last, nucleic acid. Okay, these four main compounds are used. We called it organic compounds, but because mainly made of carbons linked to each other. Okay, and you will see that when we study details. And these compounds are gonna be used to make the cell structure, such as the cell membrane. For example, the cell membrane made of carbohydrates, proteins, lipids. Okay, the organelles inside the cell, if you remember the ribosomes inside the cell, mitochondria inside the cell, these are made of carbohydrates, proteins, lipids. The DNA, the RNA, the genetic material inside the nucleus, made of nucleic acid, So as you see, the parts of the cell, mainly made of these organic compounds or carbon compounds. So you can say organic compounds or carbon compounds, because as we said, mainly made of carbons. Yes, Mustafa.
Sir, what is lipids?
Fats. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, guys. So yes, Ali Abbas, raise your hand before you speak. Raise your hand, Ali Abbas, before you talk, please. Click raising hand when I give you okay, talk. Yeah, thank you, Ali. Now you can talk. Yes.
What is nucleic Nucleic acid.
Nucleic acid is the DNA and the RNA. If you remember, the genetic material which carry the information from parents, right? These molecules or compounds found in your cells, right? So, Ali Abbas, yes, speak. If you
What about this RNA?
RNA, we're gonna study it in details. I'm just giving you example. Keep it in mind until we study it, because I told you in this chapter we're going to study every one of these four, every one in details. We're gonna study its structure and its function. Okay, but what you have to know now, Ali Abbas and others, you have to know that these compounds are formed mainly by carbon and other atoms, mainly carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. So we called it carbon compounds or organic compound. Organic means made of carbon. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you for all. Now, carbon atoms have 4 valence electrons. We talked this in the previous week. We said the carbon atom has 4 valence electrons, so it can join with 4 bonds, right? And we explained this before. We don't need to repeat now, right? The carbon can form 4 bonds. And it can form, as we talked before, double bond sometimes, like can form double bond with itself, right? Can form double bond with oxygen. Okay, we talked this in the previous week. Carbon atom can bond to other carbon atoms, giving it the ability to form chains that are almost unlimited length. That carbon can link with another carbon, with another carbon, with another carbon, and so on. Unlimited chain of carbon. That's why we say these compounds which contains these chains of carbons, we called it carbon compounds, because mainly it has a long chain of carbons. You got the point? The next, living organisms are made of molecules that consist of carbon and other elements. We said this. Chains of carbon can even close upon themselves to form rings. Sometimes the carbon link with carbon, with carbon, with carbon, carbon, okay, like this, with oxygen, for example, and like this, okay? So you can see carbons can link to each other to form what? Ring, like this, okay? This is called ring in chemistry. If it's like this is called chain. If the carbons in linear shape, this is called what? Chain. While if it's close on each other like this, close upon themselves, this is called what? Ring. Okay, so carbon has a good features. It can make chain of carbon bonds and can form rings when it close upon itself. Is it easy? If you have a question about this point, raise hand quickly. If no question, let's go to the next step. Okay, done. Next step now. I don't know if there are hands. I don't see someone. Yeah, Ali Rusan. Yes, Ali Rusan. Huh?
Yes, sir. It's kind of confusing. Can you repeat it?
What exactly the confused thing?
The carbon ring.
The what?
Chain.
What?
The carbon ring. The one in the middle.
The carbon
right.
ring? Yeah, okay. Last time we said that carbon can form bond with another carbon, right? You agree with me? Keep your mic open, Ali Rusan.
Yes.
Carbons can bond together easily. That forms a chain of carbon. Okay, how many carbons can be linked to each other like this way? Unlimited. Unlimited number of carbons can link together to form a chain of carbon. Okay? Done. Type. Carbons can link together in ring shape. Yes. How? Like carbon link with carbon, with carbon, with carbon, with carbon, with carbon, like this. Is it okay? Look at every carbon. It has bond with the next carbon and the previous carbon, right? So this called ring shape and this called chain shape or linear shape. Easy? Okay, the next step now. Macromolecules. What does it mean, macromolecules? Macro means big or giant, okay? Macromolecules. So the big molecules. These macromolecules are formed by a process known polymerization. Let's understand this word and understand this word. Now, actually, we have compounds of carbons, as we said, and these compounds of carbons form a macromolecules. What do you mean by macromolecule? Now, I want to arrange it for you from the beginning to understand. The smallest thing is the atom. Atoms link together to form compound or molecule, compound. Different atoms form compound, okay? And this compound, the simplest compound, you with me? The simplest compound, we called it micromolecule. What does it mean, micro? Micro, the smaller, right? So the simplest compound, micromolecule. Let's give you example. This circle or this ball is a micromolecule. What if you bind the micro means small. What if you bind the smallest molecules or smallest compounds together? If you link them together, it makes what? Macro molecule.
Molecule.
What is the macromolecule? It's the micromolecules linked together.
Joined together.
Exactly. Joining the micromolecules together called polymerization. Called what? Polymerization. By the way, this one is called polymer. What we called it? Polymer. What does it mean, poly? Poly means many. Poly
Many.
means many. Okay? Mer means unit. What is the unit? This one. 1 unit. The micromolecule is 1 unit, the smallest 1 unit. If you break it down, the micromolecule, you will get atoms. You got the point? Again, atoms like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and others can be linked together to form a micromolecule. And this is the smallest micromolecule. If you break the micromolecule, you will get atoms again. Okay, these micromolecules, we will take examples. These micromolecules will be linked together to form macromolecule. Okay? Linking the micromolecules together or linking the smallest units together called polymerization. What is the product? The product is a chain of micromolecules. What we called it? Macromolecule or polymer. Anything, by the way, anything made of small micromolecules repeated, linked together, repeated, this is called polymer. Ali Abbas,
Yeah.
got the point? You got the point?
Yes.
Okay, I will go to the board to say it again. So the smallest things we said what? Atoms, such as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and others. These atoms can be linked together to form compounds called micromolecules. Macromolecules. For example, to make it easy for you, for example, if you bring 6 carbons and 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens, it will make micromolecule called glucose. You understand?
No.
You understand all? If not, raise hand. Now, this point, the atoms carbon, hydrogen, oxygen can form bonds with each other to make a unit called macromolecule, such
Macro.
as example glucose. Do you have problem with this? If we break the glucose, what will happen? It will back again as atoms, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Oh, I see 4 hands. Is it hard thing this? I don't know. Let's see. Yes, yeah, Mustafa. Mustafa, quickly, yalla.
Hello.
Yalla, speak, huh? What?
So if we mix the carbon and hydrogen and oxygen, we'll make macromolecule. What is
Yes.
glucose?
A glucose is example, I said. This is an example.
So so glucose is an example of macromolecule?
Yes, exactly. You
Okay,
want
thank
another example?
Sure.
Okay. But keep it after we start the lesson, because I don't want you to be mixed, okay? So one
Sure.
glucose, I will draw like this shape. This means glucose, okay? When you see this shape, means glucose. This is one glucose. Can we break the glucose? Yes, it will back again as atoms. Easy. Okay? Very nice. So now, the macromolecules, if they link together, you hear me well, right?
Yes.
If the macromolecules,
Yes.
if the macromolecules link together like glucose with glucose with glucose with glucose with glucose, this will make a macro
Molecule.
yeah, macro molecule, such as example
Sir, I have a
example,
question.
no questions, wait, example, starch. Okay, so atoms used to form,
Sir.
wait, don't speak without raising hand. I will give you a chance to ask and to do anything. So atoms link together in a specific way, not random, in a specific way, to become macromolecule, example glucose, and micromolecules link together to form macromolecule, example starch, which made of many glucoses linked together. Okay, glucose. The starch is one example of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates. Okay, example of carbohydrates. So
No class. नहीं गया.
so
अब
carbohydrate,
ले रहा हूँ class ही ना.
stop talking, guys. Mute your mic. Carbohydrates are macromolecules, such as starch, example. Macromolecule. Easy thing, I think. Huh? Yalla, questions now. Raise hand. If you raised your hand before, erase it, because I want to hear questions about this only. Okay? Let's start by, wait. Yes, yeah. Abdullah Baroudi. Yes, Abdullah Baroudi.
Yeah, Mr. I didn't understand carbohydrates. Like,
Carbohydrate is a big name, or family, or let's say family name of some macromolecules. We have macromolecules, we call them carbohydrates. Okay, such as starch, for example. Starch from the family carbohydrates. Okay, Abdullah Baroudi. Do we have another examples in this family? Yes. Another members? Yes. Starch and others. We will study it. Okay.
so there are many examples of
yeah, many examples of macromolecules belong to the family carbohydrates.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes. Welcome. And even, yeah, Abdullah Barudi, even the glucose, which used to make the starch, so the glucose from the family of carbohydrate, right, Abdullah Barudi?
Okay.
Yeah, glucose also from the family of carbohydrate. Yeah, for example, Abdullah Barudi, Abdullah belonged to the family Barudi. And his son, inshallah, when he gets married, his son will belong to the family of Barudi, right? Same idea. The glucose belong to the family carbohydrates, and the starch belong to the family carbohydrate as well, okay? But we say the glucose is macromolecule because it's the simplest unit in the carbohydrate family, while the starch is macromolecule because made of many units or many glucoses linked together, okay? In general, I'll tell you something. I'm back to your questions. In general, anything, guys, keep this in mind. Anything made of small things repeated, like here, like in starch, small units linked to each other, repeated, this is called polymer. So if I ask you, does carbohydrate polymer? Are the carbohydrates polymers?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, they are
Yes.
polymers because they
Yes.
made of small units linked to each other, okay? What we call the smallest unit, we called it monomer, okay? So the monomer example, monomer means the simplest unit, simplest unit. That is the meaning of monomer. It's just scientific names, not more. Yalla, here are the questions. Raise hand if you have question. Ali Abbas, yes, Ali Abbas.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Can you repeat everything again because my net was
Now it's hard to repeat everything, but you will get the
can you
recorded
tell
video.
my micromolecule?
You can watch the recorded video, and you can stay with me after the class to repeat it for you. Okay. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Now let's see. Mustafa, yalla quickly, Mustafa, huh?
Hello, Mister.
Hello.
Okay, sir. Since glucose, when we form many units of it, we make carbohydrate or macromolecule, right?
Yeah, carbohydrates contains macromolecules such
Okay,
as
sir.
starch.
Can
Yes.
can we like form something from macromolecule and then it will make something else?
Yes, if you bring good thinking. Who was that? Who was talking?
Mustafa.
I forgot. Mustafa. Good thinking. I like your thinking. Actually, we study these macromolecules because later on you will find that these water molecules, if you join them in a specific way, you get a cell. We just said in the beginning, Mustafa, that the cell membrane, for example, made of carbohydrates and another macromolecules such as proteins, because you would find that proteins also have macromolecules.
Yes.
Lipids or fats, they are macromolecules. They're gonna be used to build up the parts of the cell membrane, cell wall in the plant cell, and so on. You got the point? That's why we study it
Yes.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa, for this question. Okay, guys, let's back to the slides to continue our idea. By the way, we have 3 minutes. After 2 minutes, we will disconnect and connect again. So you got what is the macromolecules. Sorry, give me a second. Give me a second. Okay. Here, the macromolecules are formed by process of non-polymerization. We said polymerization when we bring the micromolecules, link them together. The smaller units or the monomer. I told you the monomer, what is the meaning of monomer? This is the meaning of monomer, smaller units. The smaller units join together
Small unit.
to form
Going to get to make
the big
polymers.
one called polymer. Remember, polymer made of same monomers linked to each other. Same smaller units linked to each other. Same monomers linked to each other. Here example, just by samples, you can see the polymer, which the process is polymerization, and here we have the monomers are attached to each other. 4 groups of organic compounds, we need to study it. These organic compounds found in living things. We are focusing on the compounds which found in living things. In our life,
Carbohydrates, lipids.
in our life on the earth, we have uncountable number different types of compounds, but we are focusing on the compounds which found in living things, or which we called it organic compounds. Carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids, proteins. Let's start by carbohydrates. Carbohydrates family, this is the family, has monomers and polymers, or macromolecules and micromolecules. Anyway, these carbohydrates compounds made of carbon, these macromolecules made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen atoms, okay? Usually in ratio 1 to 2 to 1. What does it mean? I give you just example. Oh, guys, we have less than 1 minute. Please, we need to rejoin. Don't be late. Please on time, okay? I'm waiting you to reconnect again. Yalla, join.
Mission Impossible.
Bye.
To rejoin.
Okay.
Mission Impossible.
Peace out.
Bye.
Rejoin.